My name is Paul Dietz. I'm a professional engineer. I'll be presenting the information. I was contacted by Carol Schuler of Value Engineering, which is the Township engineer serving your community. And I worked with her prior to retirement from Melbourne for some 26 years. So I am familiar with the Township because I designed your Delphi pump station. I also designed your clarifier on the old sewer treatment plant, and so I am familiar with this community and the sewage facilities that you have in this community. A little background about me. Prior to working for Orwell and Walter, I spent 10 years working with Bucks County Water and Sewer, and was in charge of a number of systems that they own and operate throughout the county of the Bucks. Having said that, when I started with them, I was a utility worker. I climbed down into manholes and found manholes and so on. So I've worked my way from below ground to up. So I'm very familiar with sewer systems, and we will give you an opportunity to ask questions at the end. And we'll try to answer any of those questions that you have. But that's a little bit about me and who I am. Having said that, there we go. The discussion tonight is about this development, Melbourne Hills. This is out 29, just beyond the reach of your current public sewer system. Out there, the developer, a number of years ago, got preliminary approval, and we're going to go through some of the options that were put forth and are being put forth today, and answer some of the questions that you may have in terms of what those options mean and how they impact the community. Melbourne Hills is proposed as 48 residential lots, so it's an intense development for your rural community. 48 new homes. They did receive preliminary approval in 2008, so it's been sitting out there a while. Nobody has acted on it. The former developer has gone away, and now there's a new developer. He still has the preliminary approval for the 48 units. The question is, how are we going to serve that community? One of the conditions of the preliminary approval was that this community, this 48-unit development, needed to be served by public sewer. And this presentation is to look at some of the options that are out there. I've already been asked by one of the audience members, the supervisors actually, if a hybrid could be done. In other words, can something be done other than the options that we show here? And the answer is yes. So don't feel that the four options that we present are the only options. Sometimes thinking outside the box yields the best results. This presentation, we're going to present the four options. This is what the initial developer proposed in terms of gravity, and this is what the 537 proposed back in 2013. This is what the new developer proposes, and this is a fourth option in terms of trying to scale back some of the costs that may be associated with that option. You know, everything is kind of on the table, and you as a township will need to come up with the best solution for your community. One of the other things that I failed to mention at the beginning, not only am I a professional engineer, but I am a borough council member. Where I live in Coopersburg, I am an elected official. So I understand about serving the public as well. So I'm on both sides of the fence. What we're going to look at is how sewer systems work, their gravity flow, pump stations, and then low pressure systems, and an overview of your treatment facility and the township responsibilities. So that's just kind of an overview of what we're going to discuss tonight. Gravity systems. Gravity systems work. Let's see, here we go. You open the drain, turn the spigot on, flush the toilet, it flows by gravity out of your home, out into the street, into a gravity line, flowing all the time because it's gravity. No additional energy is needed. Gravity provides all the energy necessary to get the sewage from your home away and into a public system. Whoop, didn't mean to do that. Okay, if the gravity system doesn't get to this treatment plant, it goes to a pump station. It stores sewage for a short period of time and is pumped out into another gravity system and ultimately gets to the sewer treatment plant. Gravity system works pretty continuous, 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it flows continuously. Higher flows during peak flow periods, in the morning, in the evening, when everybody goes to work, comes home from work, but there's flow in these systems 24/7. Typically, gravity systems are 6 to 8 feet deep. They can be deeper, they can be slightly shallower. You typically want to keep into that range of 6 to 8 feet. When you start getting below 8-foot depth in this area, you're into heavy rock. And you get shallower, and you may have problems with your water system, because the water system is below frost. Let's see if I can get it to go. Water lines, below frost line. These systems have to be separated. In order to keep from cross-contamination, you want a minimum of 18 inches between the top of the gravity line and the bottom of your pressure line, your water system. Your water system, because it is full of water 24/7, it's a pressurized system, has to be below frost, otherwise it freezes and we have other problems. And that's what occurs out there in the street. This is your existing Delphi pump station down here and the treatment plant here. This is your Spring Mount area. That's your high-density area of the township. This 29 corridor going out here, that's the end of your current system. The Melbourne Estates system is here, so it's just beyond the current sewer system that you have. How pump stations work. Pump stations receive the flow by gravity, as we've taught, and then they push that flow through pumps out into a force main. Force mains typically are 4 inches to 6 inches in diameter, depending on flow. The pump stations that are talked about in this discussion have not been designed. Therefore, I'm not going to be able to necessarily answer design questions, but I can tell you that design is based on the number of homes that would connect to the pump station, as well as the number of homes that have the potential to connect to the pump station. Good design not only handles current situations, but possible future situations. In that design, we look at how high we have to lift the sewage to get it to the next gravity system or to the treatment facility, as well as how often it has to pump. The more homes, the more it has to pump, and that will size the force main, and so on. So there's a lot of design considerations going into these stations. Typically, a municipal pump station runs 1/3 of the time, rests 2/3 of the time. In other words, a pump station is going to run for 8 hours a day and rest the rest, the 16. That's optimum in terms of design. So they do not run 24/7. They are available 24/7, but they don't run 24/7. This is a common one-lot system. What we have is a septic tank. In that septic tank, this is where most of the systems in Lower Frederick, where you don't have public sewer, this is the type of system that you have. You have 3 levels in the tank. Scum level, that's solids that float. You have a liquid level that's in between, and you have a sludge level at the bottom. Sludge level is the solids that sink, that don't float. The maintenance on this is the pumping. The DEP recommends that the septic system be pumped every 3 years. As a septic inspector, that's one of the jobs that I do as in my business, is I recommend to my clients that they pump it every 2 years rather than every 3. It's better to be safe than sorry. One of the things that this septic tank does is it holds the solids. The drain field, its purpose and only purpose is to dispose of the liquid component of the sewage. Ideally, once the liquid component gets out into the drain field, it perks down into the soil that's below it and the groundwater table. Unfortunately, in Lower Frederick, your soils that you have within this township are not very good. And there are issues out there with septic system. The difference between this system and a sand mound is the septic tank remains the same, but right in here you put a pump tank, and instead of the liquid going out into drain fields that are just below ground, they get pumped up into the top of a mound, and then it drains down. So a sand mound does the same thing as an in-ground system. However, you have an extra component of a pump. And because the sewage is elevated and allowed to perk down through the mound and in the soil, you get what DEP calls 40 inches of renovation. In other words, the septic, the sewage component, has 40 inches of soil to travel through before it reaches the groundwater table. Soils in Lower Frederick typically have groundwater table seasonally at 20 inches or less. So that's why the sand mound. However, there's a lot of on-lot systems already in the township, which means that your systems are not getting the renovation that they need before they get into the groundwater table. They're, in some cases, right at the groundwater table, and that's why you have some problems that you have out there. This is a map of the soil. This is your township. The red soils are soils suitable for in-ground septic beds. In-ground septic beds need to be at 62 inches of good soil. That's the problem. You're at 20. The yellow dots that you see here, that's just, it doesn't appear on the slide, but it's just the soil types. So there's a lot of soil types here within the township, but the soils are not conducive to septic systems, in-ground systems. This shows a little different picture. This is soil suitability for sand mounds. Sand mounds, as I described, so you have some areas where there's sand mound capability, provided that the lot size is big enough to accommodate the sand mound and make the isolation distances. So while you do have some soils that you say, great, we can put sand mounds in, due to lot size considerations, you lose that option. One of the things that I do as a septic inspector is go out and look at these septic systems, and it impacts your community in terms of, and your neighbors in terms of being able to sell their home. There's inspectors that come out and they say, oops, I'm sorry, this system is no good. Famous phrase is unacceptable for real estate transaction. Doesn't mean that the system is in failure, because DEP has a very strict standard in terms of failure, meaning sewage on the surface of the ground, which presents a public health hazard. However, because groundwater table is high, and the systems are in-ground systems and not in mounds. You have no renovation, and sewage inspectors look at that and they say, I'm sorry, you can't sell your house, it's unacceptable. And the township may, and probably has, and probably will in the future, get calls and say to your township officials, I can't sell my house. What are you going to do about it? And it's a problem.
Can you relate whether this has to do with Melbourne Hills sewer solution?
Well,
are you suggesting that we should not go on less sewage in Melbourne Hills? Is that what your point is?
well, Melbourne Hills, the soils will not support a one-lot system.
Okay,
So that option in terms of one-lot systems is not available for me.
Okay, just wanted to clarify.
But what I wanted to do is kind of give you an overview of where you are as a township and some of the issues that are out there. One-lot systems are a reality in terms of probably over 50% of the land area within the township are served by one-lot systems. And as such, township's officials need to understand how they work and what, if anything, they can do for the residents concerning one-lot systems. Part of that goes into your 537 planning. Raw sewage contains viruses, bacteria, and parasites to present a public health issue. That's why the Montgomery County Health Department is involved as a health issue. You want to keep your residents safe, and one of the charges as a public official is to maintain the health and safety of your community. And so you need to address sewage issues. That's why DEP has given the responsibility of planning to the township, because you guys are responsible for maintaining that health out here. This is the location of Frederick, and what we see here is this is the Marbell Hills development would go here. This is the extent of the public sewer system that's in here. And these are areas. The areas in yellow are areas where we have anecdotal information from the health department or other sources that say we have a problem with our septic system. As such, the township has a responsibility to address these areas. This area is going to have an extension put in it to solve that. That was already in your 537 planning, so that's already moving forward. This area has not been addressed to date other than in the latest 537. And that's some of what we're going to discuss tonight. This area also, in behind Melbourne, has some system areas. DEP looks at these areas as seasonally stressed areas. In other words, they're not in failure all year long, but there are times when you don't want to be walking around out in the backyard. You got really sloppy soils and so on. So there are issues in those areas. The Act 537 that you approved in 2013 addressed that intersection that had a problem in terms of solving that problem, providing a sewage connection for the Melbourne estates, and putting in a gravity sewer line down to Goshahoppin Creek with a pump station down here at the bottom, and it would then pump over into this portion of the township and avoid the Delphi pump station. The Delphi pump station has been in service for some 20 years, and it is not necessarily at the end of its life. However, if you start adding significant flow to it, you're going to need to spend some money in terms of upgrading that station. This is your 537 planning. This is the Melbourne Estates, so in 2013 you recognized that that was going to be public sewer. The green represents the public sewer that you currently have. This area is going to receive the extension, so you're addressing that area. And this also was in the 2013-14 537 saying that we were going to address this area as well. The issue is that the current developer is not proposing to address that area, and the township is going to have to make some decisions in terms of whether they're going to just handle the development or address the area. What this slide shows is a conservation area, and we would be proposing to go into this area. However, the key here is unless it is needed. You're not supposed to be into this resource protected area unless it is needed to address problem areas for the purpose of protecting the public health. And the answer is we need to go into this area, at least in this corner, to protect the public health, because we already know that we have systems that have problems there.
Who's we?
Information from the health department and township records from.
We're getting,
If you look at, what's that?
The topic is not mine.
Well, this all ties into Melbourne Hills and how it relates to the other issues of the township. So we do have letters from the Montgomery County Health Department, for example, when the Arcadia tract went in for sewage planning. The health department wrote a letter referring to some of these properties saying they need to be addressed as the township sewer expands, and asking if they could be incorporated into that development sewage. So you are getting feedback from the county health department in their sewage planning reviews about some of these issues that are out there.
Are they site-specific issues, or are they just general statements about a problematic area?
Well,
There are some general statements and there are some site-specific. There are, in that one intersection, there is one home that I'm aware of that is on a holding tank. In other words, they're pumping as often as necessary. And while that's permitted under DEP, that is not an ideal situation for a homeowner. That costs big dollars to pump it every month or every 2 weeks or whatever it is. As a homeowner, I definitely would not want to be in that situation. And in order to survive, you don't do your laundry, you take it out to a laundromat, you put no-flow fixtures in your home. It can be done, but it's not the ideal situation. And if the township can solve the problem, part of this next slide is the DEP says that the township needs to get involved in trying to solve the issue. Under Pennsylvania law, the Act 537 gives the township the power to determine how sewage is treated in the township. That's what the 537 does. It looks at every single parcel within the township and says, how are we going to handle the sewage for this parcel? 50% of the land area of your township is treated by one-lot systems, and that's what 537 reflects. However, the area that's treated by public sewer